behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Mash TV. Palm Mash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Palm Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got another interview coming up in just a moment. But don't forget about that subscribe button and bell button below you there. And anytime you click those, you'll always be notified of any new episodes coming your way. And if you'd like to leave a comment on the comment section below, you can. We'd love to hear from you there. And pay attention to the description part of this listing and also the closing credits, because we're going to have contact info for you there. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. From Montreal, Quebec, Canada today, we have Paul Lafleur. Very awesome artist as usual, and I think you're really going to like this guy. And we're going to get to that in a second, but first here's another quick word from the Caden Gordon Show, so don't go away. We'll be right back right after this.
It is Caden from the Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix. Check out my show at thecadengordonshow.com.
Okay, we're back, and with us from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, we have Paul Lafleur with us today. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Well, what's your story about how you started? I mean, I'm sure you always wanted to be an artist since you were a kid. Maybe it's just something you fell into much later in life, but everyone has their own story. So tell us about your story.
Oh God, I'd say it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. Like I was that kid that would stand on his bed in front of his mirror pretending I was on stage. I think I remember I got caught by a babysitter once. She came in the room and I was wearing my underwear and I had used like a rolled up magazine or something as a microphone, and I was lip syncing what could have probably been, I want to say Beach Boys, but maybe New Kids on the Block even. Yes, I did go through phase. A child of the 80s and the early 90s, right? So that's where it started. It started off then, but I had aspirations, but they were more up here. And it wasn't like I really wanted to apply myself to playing music. I took guitar lessons very briefly, and I didn't have the patience to learn music notation and even chord tabs for me. So I gave up on that pretty quickly. But when hip hop came about in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, and that became my thing, I latched onto that right away. Before I knew it, I realized that I could rap. So I said, hey, maybe I actually can perform music. Mm-hmm. So I was listening to an instrumental tape by a local band from Montreal called Shades of Culture. And there was, at the time, you'd have a song and then you'd have the beat. And so we put the cassette in, Ghetto Blaster. It was really like a scene from a movie. And we were walking up from a park, myself and a couple of friends, after a national holiday celebration here. Pressed play and I started to freestyle. So I started to rap. And I was like, hey, you know what? I could do this. It sounds okay. Made a couple of cassette recordings in the basement. Said, I'm good enough now to go to a professional studio. And literally within 2 months, I booked a studio that I couldn't afford to go and do a demo tape with some friends, wrote some raps, and the rest was history. Because from there, once you get the bug to perform, that's it. I spent my high school years weaving kind of back and forth, mostly hip hop, but I listened to a bit of punk. And never imagined, though, that I would be able to jump genres. So I did rap for maybe about 10 years. And I joined a couple of different groups in the Montreal underground scene. One group in particular called Nine Majesty. It was sort of a collective of different artists. That I'd say was one of the ones that was there more moderately successful. And I think there's still a bit of a legacy to it. And we played shows, but you know what it is when you're 18, 19 years old trying to drive a project, you know, you're not super serious about things. And we had the ambition, we had the drive, but we didn't have the direction. So from there, I went back to school and then kind of did a 180. I mean, if you want to call it that, I see it as sort of a logical progression. But at some point I said I missed playing music. I missed the shows. I missed the recording. And I missed being creative. And I was at a bar on Bishop Street in what was kind of like the Irish sector of Montreal pubs at the time. I got into a fight at 3 a.m. And some guy kind of picked me up and brought me in the bar afterwards and started buying me pints and gave me shots. I said, what's the deal? Became friends with him. He started telling me about a cover band that he had that he would like me to play in because I told him that I might be able to do some vocals. I thought this is never going to get past anyone's basement. And as it just so happened, I could actually sing. I learned how to play bass pretty quickly. Mind you, I'm not a great bass player. And lo and behold, we had a punk band up and running within 3 months from a Ramones cover band that used to play Tuesday nights for free pints to national tours we did with the band. The band was called Without Will. We went from playing covers to writing our own songs and had a really good stint. Then I went back to hip hop. When you get middle age, I kind of I kept doing different projects in the punk scene, and then I said, well, I miss rap, and so I got back into it kind of by fluke as well. We did a song that had some hip hop licks in it, and then I got the bug back for that. It's a different game now. Now we have all the technology at our fingertips to do anything we want from home studios for virtually nothing. And so it became kind of an addiction for me. Like I stopped drinking and doing any of those terrible vices. And then the music was my preoccupation at that point. On the side, of course, naturally, I mean, I have a job, a career, but then the music was still a big part of it. So I'm still doing that now under different monikers. The video I sent you was under the name of the Mad Rap Dad, but I'm currently working with some guys called Ill Alien. The project that I'm most tied down to at the moment is Augustus 7. It's myself and another one of my associates from Montreal and a friend of mine named Auguste. And we do kind of like an old school hip hop blended with soul funk, and it's working. It's really starting to pick up. And when you're in your 40s and you're still playing music, your aspirations change. It's not about, oh, we're gonna blow up, we're gonna make it big. It's about, okay, if we do this steady enough and we have enough drive, and now that we're older, we have more of a business sense and a little bit more maturity and actually more resources. Let's see how far we can take this. And it's nice to see you put something out, you build a project, and you can see what the results are. And that's what it's all about for me now. So I know that was kind of a very long-winded answer. Not sure if you're used to that, and I could have embellished even more because there were a lot of adventures in there. But that's basically the gist of it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's a great story. And I know she mentioned New Kids on the Block, I think, earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned any others, but tell us a few more influences you have.
It's like the earliest influences. Like I think I got my first cassette tape from my parents at the age of 4, and it was a Stevie Wonder tape. And I'd watched a puppet show. I was living in Oakville, Ontario at the time, at the Oakville Place Mall, and there was a Stevie Wonder puppet that was singing the "I Just Called to Say" song. Fell in love with it. They bought me the tape. Now that's where I got my love for music, when I realized that this actually moved me emotionally. But Stevie Wonder gave way to the Beach Boys, and that would have been also my parents' influence, my father in particular. And so that sort of my proclivity towards like vocal harmonies and layering music and melodies, pop melodies that could actually be complex at the same time. Like Brian Wilson is still to this day probably my biggest influence, and that shows in not so much the hip hop, but in the punk that I do now, because I still do some. Where I layer the vocals, I double the vocals, I layer them, I use the same production techniques because I love vocal harmonies, and it's not something that's popular at the moment, certainly not in pop music. It had its time and its place, but I guess my heart still belongs in the 60s when it comes to melody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you? I apologize.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Stevie Wonder and the Beach Boys. I mean, they're obviously legends in their own right too. So, I'm glad that you enjoyed them. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where we can find you? I mean, I'm sure it's on all streaming platforms. If so, tell us that. And if you have an official website where you're on social media, things like that, I know they would love to get a hold of you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've got in my Instagram is under Paul Woods Music, because what would be my sort of prefixed family name, if you will, would be Paul Lafleur Woods, which is would be my full name. And then on Instagram, so that would be Instagram. On currently right now, the profile that I'm working on, where I'm kind of trying to consolidate my efforts, is under the group, as I mentioned earlier, Augustus 7. Because one of the things we do as musicians is we have a tendency of, at least I do, and a lot of people I know, is spreading ourselves too thin, committing to many projects, and I'm doing this and that and that, and a side project of a side project of a side project, and I'm guilty of that. And we have that sort of like ADHD, wanting to do everything and be everything and try different genres. But I said, no, I need to really focus. Right now, Augusta 7 is where I've put most of my eggs. And under a larger collective called Ill Alien, and that one right now, it's still not quite surfaced, but we're working through Band Lab with a lot of guys in the U.S., a lot of really talented rappers, singers, just general different types of artists with different pensions and styles and stuff. So Augusta 7. So I need to sum it up. Augusta 7 on Spotify. I've another single supposedly coming out on Friday, and a few others lined up in there. And that's on like the very classic boom bap 90s hip hop style with that soul and a little bit of the angst left over from the younger years, some anger, a little bit political, a lot of fun stuff, especially for people that like that classic golden era hip hop.
Okay, well, check out that on Friday, that new song he's talking about, and check him out on all those streaming platforms and so on he mentioned. And I know he would love you for that. And again, this song, like you mentioned, it's going to be from that group, Mad Rap Dad, and it's called
Yeah.
Gaslight. Is there a story behind Gaslight? We'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, big time. Sorry, this is a part of my story. I don't know if you guys are picking up his baby downstairs crying. His most recent addition to the family as a father. Um, so Mad Rap Dad, it's kind of a moniker that was a joke. It was a caricature that was sort of saying like, well, how do you come into the rap game at, I think I was 40, maybe 41. So a guy in his 40s trying to come back after many years of having not done it and be taken seriously. So well, you can do it by sort of caricaturizing yourself and sort of not taking yourself too seriously. And that was the whole thing behind it. And I thought maybe we can make like a TikTok personality out of this. Don't like TikTok. I'm not a big fan of most of those social media platforms. So that didn't really pan out. And I said, it's also really limiting. So I said, outside of the novelty, there isn't much room for other types of creative expansion, like in politics and history and other things that I take seriously. So I kind of X that. And that was the last song that I did under that name, Mad Rap Dad. But I'm going to re-release it under an Augusta 7 track. But it's the same song, same video. It's just I think it deserves to be spun again and given new life. So the song in question for the video that I sent you is a track called Gaslight, and it is a song that is, as the name suggests, about gaslighting and narcissistic techniques that people use on each other in relationships, in marriages, in professional relationships. And I was definitely speaking from a very personal place on that one. But at the same time, it was very general, and I thought it was something that a lot of people could relate to. And as it turns out, it was. And when I released it to a small audience, I had a lot of people that had reached out and said, hey, that song really resonated with me in a lot of ways. And that to me is more meaningful than getting 50,000 streams. It was about the people saying, that's poignant, man. That's strong. The words, the music, and the emotion. And it was certainly written from a place of emotion. It wasn't contrived in any way, shape, or form. It was me, and it was sincere. And that's when the best music comes out. When somebody says, okay, go write a song about blue lilies and ladybugs, I could do it, but it's not going to have that same oomph and that's the same impact that a song would be that when it comes from here. And that one did. So I think there's a lot of that you can derive from listening to it, and you can probably draw your own conclusions. I won't delve into it more than that for reasons of not wanting to put somebody in a bad situation. But I think everybody can deal or can relate to having dealt with a narcissistic person in their life, or somebody who's emotionally or psychologically abusive. And my hope was that through my own struggles that I had gone through, I would be able to raise awareness for other people, and have other people realize, like, this is common, and there is a happy ending to it.
Okay, well, this is a great I'm sorry, did I interrupt you again?
No, I was just saying that there's not always a happy ending, but there certainly can be. That's all I was saying.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
it is a great song, and I know y'all are ready to see it, and we'll get to that in a second. But Paul, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Come back anytime you want to plug something new. We'll have you back on sometime.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and keep doing your thing and working hard at it. It's great to see it.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul. And here it is, Gaslight by Paul Lafleur. It begins right now.
Yeah, no. Look, I'll tell you what. Let's take the weekend, have a couple of nights sleep on it, and we'll sort this out Monday morning. I got a call, man. Hold on a second. Yeah, she's calling. Sorry, I gotta take this. Hello? Oh, come on. You gotta be joking. Yeah. Yeah, another bad fight. Can't remember what happened last night. Why get the facts right when you can gaslight? It's like a bad dream of coming off the crack pipe. This is a trip through insanity, so pack light. Carefully skilled, they exploit your triggers. They watch you detonate and point the finger. They want your judgment and your voice to wither. And that's because they morally devoid and bitter. Now let's get one thing straight. I never claimed to be perfect. I've fucked up so many times that people blatantly hurting. I've been a dick, but I'm ashamed of that person. For what it's worth, I take it back if there's a way to reverse it. Yo. So when you spot the narcissist who's starting shit, get yourself as fucking far from it and thwart it quick as you don't want a part of it. Fueled by resentment, you went ruthless with a vengeance. Fought from disagreement, this broke all the rules of dissension. Through the facade, I found the truth and intentions. It's like almost as though destroying truth is your pension. I know you angry, but now wait, stop the victim. You need control so bad you brainwashing children. But now extracting all the poison you dealt, no longer destroying my health or avoiding myself.